Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, and I'm excited to say I was worried with all the idiocy going on with the Trump administration right now and all the stupidity we're putting our European allies through. I was concerned that the Europeans were, in fact, growing some balls. But fear not, Americans. The Belgians have come out to proven that they're all just as smooth as a Ken doll down there. So yeah, I don't know. This is like an interesting story about the whole idiocy of what's going on with Israel right now and how the world is dealing or not dealing with Israel right now, and just how weirdly stupid all of this is. Because I think one of the big issues that a lot of the countries around the world, especially the Western countries around the world, are dealing with is that their citizens are physically nauseous with what the Israelis are doing, and it disgusts many citizens around the world that we are funding this slaughter. We are funding this ethnic cleansing. But the problem becomes is that our politicians are owned not by us, not by the citizens, but by, I don't know, let's just say they're not owned by us anymore. And so the politicians have to come out and they have to show that they are on the side of their own citizens. At the exact same time, they don't piss off their paymasters. And then that's where we get these announcements coming out of Belgium, which sounds good. Sounds so good until you read the last sentence. And then you're like, oy vey. I do believe oy vey might be the perfect phrase for this situation. I find this to be interesting, especially as a technology professional, seeing what's going on in the technology world. I've been talking about all the protests and idiocy going on in Microsoft right now. So Microsoft, is funding the infrastructure to basically cleanse the Palestinian people. Right, the intelligence agencies over in Israel are literally using the Azure cloud systems to do things like record all electronic communication and phone calls for the Palestinians. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that Israel's doing, and so you have Microsoft employees that are protesting this. They're coming out and they're protesting. They just had like 4 or 5. Some of them were employees and some of them were ex-employees. They were arrested for doing a sit-in at one of the executives' offices at Microsoft. And it's interesting to see that, especially again in this modern world where everything is just kind of sliding. I don't know what we're in right now. I don't feel like it's a kerfuffle anymore. There are kerfuffles. It's not really a kerfuffle. It's just this I don't know, societal seismic slide. So it's interesting to see, right? So Microsoft, has fired 16,000 employees this year. At the exact same time, their employees are protesting the company. At the exact same time, the things that the employees are protesting are what literally bring in billions and billions and billions of dollars a year to Microsoft. And you kind of wonder how all that works out at the end of the day. And the other curious thing to look at is that it does not appear that Intel does not seem to be getting the blowback for supporting Israel. Intel was going to be putting in one of the largest outside investments into Israel until recently. They're going to put a $20 billion investment into Israel. To be clear, that fell apart. I do not feel because of Israel. That just fell apart because Intel. I am not saying they're in a death spiral, but if you look at a death spiral and you look at what Intel is doing, they look very similar, right? Right. But what's interesting is you actually don't hear a lot of pushback from Intel employees about supporting Israel. NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is putting a massive amount of investment into Israel, for AI systems. And literally, boys and girls, what the fuck do you think those AI systems are for? They're investing a tremendous amount of money into Israel for AI systems and development and research, but NVIDIA doesn't seem to be getting a lot of blowback for some reason. And it's just kind of curious to see this in the technology world. And then we talk about things like tariffs and sanctions and all that kind of stuff. And it's curious to see and think about how it's going to affect all of us. And what do we do? What do we do? If you were a Nazi border guard who had a mortgage and had a sick kid at home, would you quit? Would you quit if it meant your kid lost their health insurance? You don't think about that kind of thing, do you? Do you ever think about the nice Nazi helping the little old lady across the road? You don't think about that type of thing. You don't think about nice Nazis. Right? But it is. It's that weird, this weird world that we're in. So anyways, Belgium is coming in. Belgium is coming in like the true European power that they are. Oh, it's funny because I'm gonna read you all this. So this is a Twitter post because apparently everything that's cool gets posted on Twitter. Even nation state comments about what they're going to do to other nation states gets on Twitter. Anyways, you know how long this is? This is long, and it all sounds pretty. It's like wow, 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 and then you get down to here, and you get down to here. And this is what I love about Europeans. You know why Europeans put a smile on my face? Because there's this whole thing. We're going to read through it. But I just want to read about to the end of this. It's like 2 sentences. Aware of the trauma caused to Israeli people by the terrorist attacks of October 7, 2023 by Hamas, the administrative formalization of this recognition by royal decree will take place once the last hostage has been released and Hamas no longer has any role in managing Palestine. So all of this stuff that Belgium is going to do in support of the Palestinians that might punish the Israelis for their ethnic cleansing will only happen when Hamas has no administrative control over anything going on over there, which basically means all of this is horse crap. All of this is garbage, but it's cute garbage. It's adorable garbage. So let's read this for a second. Palestine will be recognized by Belgium during the UN session. Exclamation point. And firm sanctions are being imposed on the Israeli government. Any anti-Semitism or glorification of terrorism by Hamas supporters will also be more strongly condemned. Do remember, anti-Semitism, per the Anti-Defamation League, is if you do not believe Israel is a legitimate state, that is anti-Semitism. Just gotta put that out there on the table, right? In light of the humanitarian tragedy unfolding in Palestine, particularly in Gaza, and in response to the violence perpetrated by Israel in violation of international law, given its international obligations, including the duty to prevent any risk of genocide, Belgium had to take strong decisions to increase pressure on the Israeli government and Hamas terrorists. This is not about sanctioning the Israeli people, but about ensuring that their government respects international and humanitarian law and taking action to try to change the situation on the ground. 12 firm sanctions are being implemented at the national level, including a ban on importing products from the settlements, a review of public procurement policies with Israeli companies, restrictions on consular assistance to Belgians living in illegal settlements under international law, potential judicial prosecutions, that's kind of interesting, bans on overflights and transit. Curious. I'm not sure what it meant. I mean, right? Israel is the size of a gnat's turd. But anyways, the designation of 2 extremist Israeli ministers, several violent settlers, and Hamas leaders as, quote, persona non grata in our country. If you commit genocide, we do not want you eating our food. Do not come to our country on vacation if you commit genocide. That is punishment. Support at the European level for measures to suspend cooperation with Israel, requiring a qualified majority, including the suspension of the EU Association Agreement, the suspension of research programs, technical cooperations, etc. Belgium will join the countries that signed the New York Declaration, paving the way for a 2-state solution and thus recognizing both states. So that's pretty strong right there. 12 sanctions, right? Suspending cooperations, demanding a two-state solution. Belgium will recognize Palestine during the joint initiative of France and Saudi Arabia, a strong political and diplomatic gesture to preserve the chances of a two-state solution, and to mark the condemnation of Israel's expansionist ambitions and its settlement programs and military occupations. Palestine will thus be clearly recognized as a fully fledged state on the international stage by Belgium, aware, and this is where we come to the end, aware of the trauma caused to the Israeli people by the terrorist attacks of October 7, 2023 by Hamas. The administrative formalization of this recognition by royal decree will take place once the last hostage has been released and Hamas no longer has any role in managing Palestine. So it'll be interesting to see with this. Is this just simply the recognition of a two-state solution will only happen when Hamas has, no role of any kind in managing Palestine, or how much of the rest of this is going to get mixed up in there? And that's the weird thing, right? Strong words. Just as soon as this thing that is relatively implausible happens. One of the curious things here, too, with the whole Hamas deal is that whole idea of who is Hamas, which does become an interesting question mark, right? So Hamas is such an amorphous organization. The question is even if the leadership steps down. Let's say the leadership actually steps down. But you have people that are in charge of things, that actually have the technical aptitude to do certain things, that were previously members of Hamas. Does that mean that Hamas still has some management of Palestine? Right? Where does this all work out? You think about this with Iraq and the de-Baathification and how well that went for Iraq, right? How well is that going to work for Palestine? And the fact that this is being pushed, again, from the outside world. That the Palestinians need to give up Hamas. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. A firm commitment to the reconstruction of Palestine. An equally firm commitment to calling for European measures targeting Hamas and supporting new Belgian initiatives to combat anti-Semitism, further mobilizing all our security services and involving representatives of the Jewish community. More details soon on my website. So this is what is coming out of Belgium now. They're threatening sanctions. They're threatening to, actually recognize Palestine if certain things are met. They are admitting that they believe that Israel is committing a genocide. They're admitting that they believe Israel is violating international laws and the rest of it. And yeah, how does this flesh out at the end of the day? I mean, if we've heard from Israel, basically Israel, the right-wing politicians want to take back everything that they believe is Israel, right? China believes that Tibet is part of China and Taiwan is part of China. Therefore, they should be able to take those provinces by military force, right? Think about that, right? China says they're able to take Taiwan because Taiwan is part of their country. Ergo, they should be able to take it by military force. Right, we have Israel coming out. Right, their own politicians are saying we believe this is where our border should be. Ergo, we should be able to take these things by military force. China is evil. China man is evil. Israel is good. How does this make sense? I don't know. Somebody else will have to explain it to me. But it'll be curious to see how this all kind of fleshes out at the end of the day, especially, like I say, for a lot of the tech companies out there, right? A lot of technology actually runs through Israel. A lot of the artificial intelligence, a lot of the drones, a lot of autonomous systems, those types of things, technologies actually run a lot through Israel. And it'll be curious to see what happens as things fall apart. Not necessarily for Israelis, right? Israelis are going to deal with what Israelis are going to deal with. But for a lot of folks in the outside world, right? What happens? What happens? So anyways, so what do you think about this? What do you think about Belgium threatening sanctions on Israel for violating international law and committing genocide? What do you think about recognizing Palestine as a state? I gotta say, at this point, I'm not even sure what their state would be. There's going to be two states. Like, oh, Jesus. I don't even know what those two states are going to look like. Anyways, what do you think about the Europeans getting harsher about Israel? At the exact same time, they want to prove that they're not anti-Semitic. I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me stupid. Just say something down in the comment section, because it's the modern world of YouTube, and that all that matters is that interaction. With that, see y'all later.